Hi, my little ducklings. I miss you all so much, and I wanted to do this YouTube video for you to connect with you so at least you could see me. Right now, I am downstairs in our downstairs room. This is usually where Jonathan stays, where John stays when he comes back from college. But when his sister Deandra comes from Seattle for Christmas, she boots him out of here, kicks him out, and it becomes her room for a little while. But now, this is called Studio BB for Barbara Braswell. This last week, I've been sleeping in and playing word games and reading, and I hope you all are doing the same thing. Hanging out with your families, maybe doing some multiplication games, maybe doing lots of reading, maybe even writing. I don't know, I hope so. But right now, I want to read you this story called Little Red Riding Hood. When we were at the library last, Mr. Steve didn't have a chance to read this. We ran out of time. Actually, because we were talking about the coronavirus, and I wanted to read this, so he let me borrow it. But we didn't have a chance to, so I thought I would read it for you now. But before we started, I wanted to tell you that the people that wrote this, it was two brothers, the Grimm brothers, that wrote lots and lots of fairy tales a long time ago. They wrote Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, Snow White, Hansel and Gretel. They wrote lots of different stories. Some of them are kind of scary, and the reason that they wrote these stories was to compare good and evil, or right and wrong. So they were written, I looked up how long ago Little Red Riding Hood was written, and it says the late 1600s, which is a long time ago. So I thought we could figure out about how long ago this book was written. So we don't know exactly when it was written, but the late 1600s, we're just going to say it was 1690. And how would we find the difference between now and when this book was written? When we find the difference, it tells us how old it is. To find the difference, would we add, subtract, multiply, or divide? I know you're all saying, Miss Barbara, we subtract. And you're right, we do. So let's do it together. 2020, whoops, that was a funky zero, minus 1690, which is about when it was written. 0 minus 0 is 0. 2 minus 9 is, oh my gosh, we can't do that. We go next door, there's a 0 there. We can't take anything from there. We have to go one step further. Borrow from the 2, make it a 1. Now this is a whole 10. Now this 2 can borrow from the 10, making it a 9. And this is a 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. 9 minus 6 is 3. It was written about 330 years ago. That's a really, really long time. So the way that these stories were written is a little bit different than we would write stories now, and they can be a little bit scary. But you've probably heard of this story, and you may have even read it. But this book has the most gorgeous pictures in here. The pictures are beautiful, and the pages are beautiful. So here we go. To make sure you can see. Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl, and everyone who set eyes on her loved her, but her grandmother loved her most of all, and never tired of giving her presents. Once she gave her granddaughter a little red velvet cap, and because it so suited the girl so well, she wore it all the time, and she was known as Little Red Cap. One day her mother said to her, "Now, Little Red Cap, here's a piece of cake and a bottle of wine. Take them to your grandmother. She is sick and weak, and the cake and wine will do her good. You'd better set out before the day is too hot. And when you are away from here, follow the path like a good girl, or you might fall and break the glass bottle, and there would be none of the wine left for your grandmother. And when you reach her house, don't forget to say good morning, and don't go poking around in every corner." So look at this page, it's a cutout. "I'll do everything just as you say," Little Red Cap told her mother, giving her hand to show that she meant it. Her grandmother, however, lived out in the forest, half an hour's walk from the village, And when Little Redcap entered the forest, the wolf came to meet her. However, she didn't know what a wicked animal he was, so she was not afraid of him. "Good day, Little Redcap," said the wolf. "Thank you, Wolf, and good day to you," she replied. "Where are you going so early in the morning, Little Redcap?" "To see my grandmother." "And what is it you're carrying under your apron?" "Cake and wine. It was baking day yesterday, and I'm taking my poor sick grandmother something to do her good and give her new strength." "So where does your grandmother live, Little Redcap?" "Another quarter of an hour's walk into the forest from here. Her house stands under three big oak trees with hazelnut hedges outside." "I'm sure you know the place," said Little Redcap. The wolf thought to himself, "This tender young thing would make me a good meal. She'll taste even better than the old lady. I must go about this cunningly if I'm to snap them both up." So he went along beside the little girl for a while, and then he said, "Look at those pretty flowers growing all around, Little Redcap. Why don't you look over here? I don't think you even hear the little birds singing so sweetly. You just walk straight ahead as if you were on your way to school. Yet such fun out in the forest." Little Redcap opened her eyes wide, and when she saw the sunbeams dancing back and forth as they shone through the trees and all the lovely flowers growing in the forest, she thought, "If I take grandmother a bunch of fresh flowers, she'd like that too. And it's so early in the day that I shall still arrive in good time." So she left the path through the forest and went looking for flowers. Whenever she picked one, she thought she saw an even prettier one farther away, and she picked it and so strayed further and further into the forest. But as for the wolf, he went straight to grandmother's house and knocked on the door. "Who's that outside?" called the old lady. "It's me, Little Redcap, bringing you cake and wine. Open the door." "Just push the latch down," grandmother replied. "I'm too weak to get up." The wolf pushed the latch down, the door opened, and without a word he went straight into grandmother's bed and swallowed her all up. Then he put on her clothes, set her cap on his head, lay in her bed, and drew the curtains round it. Meanwhile, Little Redcap had been running about picking flowers, and when she had so many she could hardly carry them, she remembered her grandmother and set off for her house. She was surprised to find the door open, and when she went into grandmother's room, it felt so strange. She said to herself, "Oh my goodness, how frightened I feel today. And yet I usually love going to see grandmother." "Good morning," she called, but there was no answer. She went to the bed and pulled back the curtain. There lay grandmother with her cap far down over her face, looking strange. "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have!" "All the better to hear you with," said the wolf. "Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have!" "All the better to see you with." "Oh, grandmother, what big hands you have!" "All the better to grab you with." "But oh, grandmother, what a terrible big mouth you have!" "All the better to eat you with." And as soon as the wolf had said those words, he jumped up out of bed and swallowed poor Little Redcap all up. When the wolf had satisfied his appetite, he lay down on the bed again, fell asleep, and began snoring loudly. The huntsman happened to be passing the house, and he thought, "How the old lady is snoring! I better go see if there's anything wrong with her." So he went into the room, and when he was standing beside the bed, he saw the wolf in it. "Oh, you old sinner! Is this where I find you?" he said. "I've been after you a long time." And when he was about to aim his gun when it occurred to him that the wolf may have swallowed grandmother whole and she could still be saved. So he didn't fire a shot, but took a pair of scissors and began cutting the sleeping wolf's belly open. After he'd made a few cuts, he saw a little bright red cap. And after a few more, the girl jumped up crying, "Oh, how scared I was! It was so dark inside the wolf." Then out came her old grandmother as well, still alive, but very breathless. Little Redcap hurried off to fetch some large stones, and they filled the wolf's body with the stones. When he woke up, he tried to run away, but the stones were so heavy that he sank under their weight and fell down dead. They were all very happy. The huntsman skinned the wolf and took the wolf's skin home with him. Grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine that Little Redcap had brought and soon felt better. And as for Little Redcap, she thought to herself, "I'll never in my life stray off the path and go into the forest when my mother has told me not to." The end. So as I was reading this story, I was thinking, oh gosh, this is kind of a terrible end and kind of yucky. I think, well, we know the moral of the story is to listen to your parents because they're looking out for you and they want the best for you and they're trying to guide you on the right path. But I was thinking, I wonder if this story could be written with the same message, that your parents are looking out for you and you should listen to your parents, and your teachers. But if we could write it in a different way that still everybody had their needs met. Like maybe the wolf was misunderstood. Maybe you all could write a story. You could rewrite Little Red Riding Hood. I would love, love, love to see that. I would love to see your ideas as to how this story could end and still have the same message. That Little Redcap would still know that she should not stray off the path and she should go straight to her grandmother's house, but maybe in a little bit nicer way. So if you can, write me a story. Rewrite Little Red Riding Hood on your computer and you can email it to me. And maybe next time we do this YouTube, I could share some of the stories that you all have written. So that's all I have for today. I'm signing off from Studio BB. I send you all lots and lots of love. I miss my hugs so much. I miss all your faces so much. I can't even tell you. So until next time, I wish you well.